before you recognize what anxiety was, do you have any like recollection of what life was like before?
It's a lot more frustrating, I think, because I didn't know how to deal with it, or what tools to use to kind of alleviate that anxiety. And I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
I know it's a hard question.
Yeah.
Because like, what was it like before? I mean, I don't
It
even...
was definitely harder, that's for sure. But I've always been open to and trying new things and figure out what would work better for me or people around me in that situation. But anxiety's been a huge one for me through school, through growing up, and all that. And I held everything in, and I think that was a lot of my health issues too. Was just that anxiety of, do I fit in here? Is that person gonna like me? Or am I doing the right thing? People pleaser.
Oh yeah.
And trying to let that go and understand, what can I do differently?
Yeah. Well, people pleaser, that's me, or I was a people pleaser. Do you feel you're still a people pleaser?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I am a little bit maybe, but for the most part I've learned that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay, and if somebody doesn't like me, it's okay from those things, but it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I've talked about Gabor Mate before, but he really does. There's so many videos that he has out there, but he talks about like in childhood, if you grew up in an environment where you didn't feel you were good enough, or you had to work to feel seen and heard and loved, just due to different environments. What if our parents were just too busy to even notice us, or all these things? This isn't about shaming and blaming parents. It's really about how did we grow up and what did that look like? Because if we grow up and our needs are being met, then we don't necessarily utilize the people-pleasing skill. It is a survival tactic.
Yeah. And
it's becoming aware of that. Asking yourself, am I a people pleaser? And
yeah.
And it's not easy. It's been hard.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's a fine line of just trying to figure out, do I please this person? Do I do this for myself? Am I a good person for not doing this? Am I a bad person? It creates all that anxiety and it builds up. And
yeah.
But it's just figuring out how to let that go.
Yeah. Have you figured out how to let it go, or are there some things you have in place that help you?
I still harbor a lot of that anxiety. It's still hard for me. It's set in my brain now. This is where it needs to go, and I need to push it in. But letting it go for me has been easier and easier as I work with it.
Yeah.
It's like with the kids, and they get all wound up, and then I get wound up, and the anxiety builds. But it's figuring out, okay, how do I want to do this differently, where I'm not so suppressing everything, where my health is not at risk because I'm doing this. And it's been quite the journey to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, and the part of the journey is really, again, acknowledging it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things like, there's strategies that we can add into place. And a lot of that is really using the 5 senses, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like being present in the moment and like trying to figure out, asking yourself, okay, where is that anxiety coming from?
Yeah.
What is creating that feeling within me? That gives us more tools to utilize and move forward from it. Because if you can kind of name why it's there, it becomes a little bit easier.
Yes.
Number one.
Yeah.
Right? It's like naming the emotion. Wait a minute, I'm really pissed off right now. I mean, is that an emotion? Anger. Pissed off, anger.
Yeah.
When we can name those things, it becomes a little bit easier because we're giving them that space to feel seen or to feel heard or to be present versus shoving them down and allowing them to accumulate.
Yeah.
Right?
Layer upon layer upon layer, and then finally, you've had enough where you just let loose. And but you can't do that. It's so hard on your system.
It is. Yeah. It's hard physically and mentally, emotionally, all of that. I think we all know what happens when you stick a Mentos. Is it just regular Coke? See, I'm learning. Or does it have to be Diet Coke?
I'm not sure I've done that one, but I think it's the Diet Coke. I don't know, something with the Diet Coke.
Right? Well, yeah.
Yes.
So I guess I don't even know exactly. I just know if you stick Mentos in a Coke, it explodes, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a natural reaction. And if you leave the top off, it's going to bubble out. It's going to move everywhere. It's going to move through the motion.
Yep.
But if you put a cap on that baby, you're letting all of that bubble up and
For sure.
it's going to explode at some point, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we as humans are too. We need the ability to flow freely in our energy. And energy helps us to heal. It can help us to move forward. But if we're depressed or anxiety, as we talked about on another episode, depression comes from deprimere, which means to press down. So depression is the suppression of emotions. All of those kind of things make it so hard. But naming what it is,
That's a big game changer there, yeah.